leaders and healers, gamers and claimers, ladies and gentlemen from around the universe, from around the globe, from around the community, welcome to the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast. I am your host, Anthony Cheam, speaker, life coach, author, trainer, musician, singer, songwriter, friend, podcast host, ready to give to you the best of what I've learned and earned in this beautiful industry of self-help, spiritual fitness, emotional fitness, physical fitness, whatever it may be. I just wanted to learn it, earn it, and then return it to you in care and compassion and love for you so you can claim your power, clarify your purpose, cultivate your deepest, widest, and highest passions possible so you can live the best life. And then ultimately what you've learned and earned, then you can take it to the next level of fulfillment and joy, because that's the ultimate fulfillment and joy, is then to take what you've learned and returned in your life, in your experience, to give to the rest of the world in contribution, because that's where the ultimate fulfillment comes from. Whether you are listening to this live in your home, at work, wherever you are, or passively on your working out or driving home, whatever it is, thank you for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to have you join us and to learn some great ideas, insights, to claim your power, clarify your purpose, and cultivate your deepest, widest, and highest passions possible. So thank you for joining us. Cameron, what's going on? I'm excited about the show today because we have another amazing guest. And before we get into it, let's see how you're doing there, Cam. What's going on?
Doing very well. I appreciate that intro. That was probably the most words you've said in 2 minutes. That was amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, very much looking forward to this episode. I just want to tell everybody, if they missed the last episode with Al, you got to go check that out on Spotify, on Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, whatever. Because I assume they're going to be basically segueing from what they were talking about then to this new topic now. So
yes,
and they go off. So get ready; it's going to be great.
Well, look, guys, we're going to have, this is the vision for this podcast, is to have more guests in various fields, expertise, from psychology to spirituality to peak performance to nutrition to physical fitness. Because let me tell you something, the new innovation, the future of this type of stuff is not coming from just being a master of one skill. It's about integrating a multitude of skills and habits and abilities and to literally become superhuman. And if you are familiar with Tony Robbins' work or Ken Wilber's work, they all talk about integrating the human, not just the body and the mind, but spirit, talents, states of consciousness, all these things to become the best, absolute best version of yourself, and to no avail to actually become superhuman. That's no joke. So that's my goal, is number one, to be a superhuman version of Anthony, whatever that means to me. And then to teach that superhuman is to express my superhuman abilities, love, care, my own talents, gifts, capacities, potentialities to the world. And then it inspires other people to do that. And then you turn inspiration into what is called conspiration, or to conspire together, where multiple people are inspired to work together. To conspire means to actually breathe together. And that's why we're having different guests and different people from various fields come on, so we can conspire together, share ideas, and amplify the whole field of consciousness, vibration, success, fulfillment, and joy in this world, because that's what it's all about. I truly believe that, expressing who you are, living the best life, and then sharing the best life to others around you, inspiring them to do the same. So today's particular episode title is entitled "How to Turn Calamities into Opportunities." And what I love about this particular subject matter in all of my coaching, whether it be one-on-one or with families or in seminar settings, it's all about being able to reframe or convert your calamities into opportunities. It was Winston Churchill, I think it was Winston Churchill who said this, that said, an optimist or a pessimist turns every opportunity into a calamity. An optimist turns a calamity into an opportunity. That sounds nice and everything, but how do you do that? And this is how we're going to precisely dissect and dive into how can we do it mentally, physically, emotionally, integrate our whole selves so that we can turn those calamities into opportunities. Because let's face it, when we're faced with a struggle or a calamity, and we are in a state of duress or stress or fear, anxiety, the first thing we want to do is either fight, flight, freeze, or feign, which is the new one. Apparently the new study thing is the fourth F, to feign, to literally just give up. There are other options, and this particular episode is all about that. So before we actually get started on that particular subject matter, I want to introduce our guest. He's been on the show before, and just like Cam said, if you missed that particular interview with Al McBride, let me tell you something. He gave tremendous value. And if you didn't listen to that, let me give you a biography of what his credentials are, because he's an amazing human being. He's a coach, facilitator, and trainer, and has started numerous small businesses. He's a regular guest lecturer in cognitive behavioral coaching in the Masters in Coaching program at University College Cork in Ireland. He's also facilitated in post-grad courses in entrepreneurship and innovation in University College Dublin. He's a coach to executives and to business owners across an array of industries like software, law, aviation, telecoms, corporate finance, to name a few. His philosophy is he believes clarity in thought leads to clarity in communication. Over the past few years, he's been giving his clients the psychological edge in negotiation, and has a new program out called Goliath Negotiation Method. Please give a warm welcome and help me introduce to you Al McBride. What's going on there, Al? Are you there, man?
I'm here. I'm here.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Great to see you again. Thank you again for such a great introduction. I think we raised the bar last time, so we have quite something to live up to. I got an awful lot of very good feedback back on that interview, back in that conversation. So yeah, we will endeavor to do our best to do something similar today.
Great, man. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, and you are in Ireland. But man, I've known you, and here's another thing from a personal point of view. I've known you since meeting you in the Robbins Madonna's training coaching certification program many years ago. And let me tell you something. You've taught me so much. You've taught me at different angles how to look at things, how to look at my own problems, personal, professional, whatever it is. And you've helped me just expand my delivery, my ability to think things through. The fact that you're on the show and bringing so much value to our listeners, man, I'm telling you, people are going to just be so expanded and upgraded as a result of you being on the show. So thank you.
Well, you're very kind to invite me back. I'm glad to be a regular guest on you.
Oh man, we're going to have you on all the time, man.
As you well know, man, it's been a two-way street. For every bit of value I've given you, I think you've given me twice as much back the other way. So very much pleasure, a two-way street in that. So much appreciated,
Good. So let's go. Let's fire right into this.
Dive right into it.
Let's dive. How do we turn calamities into opportunities?
It's such a good question, because, as you say, it sounds like a great idea, and it's one of these great cliches. What's that cliche that is it in Chinese that the symbol for disaster is opportunity, or
yes,
the way you hear this kind of stuff, and people kind of get very cynical about it, and they're like, oh yeah, whatever. But as you say, that's all very well, but how do you do it? Well, the first thing that I'd usually say to people is the very first thing you got to do is get out a reaction. So when something hits you, now we're talking kind of broad strokes here about like a calamity. So this is the other thing, that it's all personal, isn't it? So a calamity for one person is just an irritation or annoyance to someone else.
Yeah.
And then somebody else is like, this is awesome, bring it on. I'm here to be challenged, right? So,
very good.
First of all, it depends on the individual and how their mindset is set up to do with whatever one might call it a calamity. But that said, the first thing you got to do is get out a reaction. So how do you do that? Because the first thing, life hits you, doesn't it? And you're left reeling.
Yes.
And it's that question of, okay, so you've been hit. How fast are you going to get back up again? How fast are you going to get back in control? And this is the first question. So usually what I say to clients, one of those little things that comes up a lot, is to ask the question.
Yes.
Where do I have choice here? Where do I have control? Because once you realize you have a choice, even one, then you start, by definition, because you have choice, you have an element of control. And once you have control, then you have more choice. And so you're clawing back that sense of not just being in reaction, but actually being proactive, and I know some people find, proactive is like, but active is just sort of, you're doing stuff. Proactive, there's that bit more awareness of the choice that you're making, and more assertive or even aggressive movement towards something.
Yes.
Usually trying to improve your situation. So with calamity, the first thing I'd say is, just like you said, transform a calamity into an opportunity. That's the first thing. Mind your language.
Yes.
What words are you using to encode the meaning of the situation to yourself? So as I usually say to people, the first thing is like, get that little bit of objectivity. What words am I using here? Is this a disaster? Is this a calamity?
Yes.
Or are you starting to go, as I used to say, problem? What does a problem imply? A problem implies something that's unpleasant. Nobody chooses problems, right?
Yes, of course.
But then you suddenly say, well, could the same thing be called a challenge? And suddenly, people choose challenges, or they're foisted upon them. That's fine.
Yes.
But they choose them too, don't they? So suddenly, there's also, what else does it imply? Usually, some people would say it implies an area, an opportunity for growth, which is the big one with challenge, isn't it? Like, okay, if someone can put a gun to your head and say, you got to run a 10K, you got to run a marathon, right? That's a problem.
Yeah.
Somebody says, hey, I'll tell you what, why don't you run a marathon for charity? We're all doing it, it's part of a group of us doing it, whatever. Then suddenly it's a challenge. People, it's tough. It's still the same marathon, but hey, suddenly it's actually an element of choice in there, and you're more in control. So the first thing I'd say is, beware your language, mind your language, as your mother used to say.
Yeah.
And from there, then, as I said, even with the words that you're choosing, what do the words actually imply? Because there's always the implication of meaning. And like loads of people have different sort of feeling for what different words actually mean compared to other people, but there's still that kind of overall shared definition stuff. So, for example, I work with a lot of people doing communication and presentation skills. They want to present very well, this sort of thing. And so we talk about nerves. And the first thing I say, well, are you nervous or are you anxious?
Oh, very good.
They'd say, oh, well, actually, because often they'll say, oh, I'm really anxious about this speech or something. And I say, well, are you nervous or are you anxious? And they go, well, actually, I'm kind of in the middle. So it's like, well, if it's spectrum, and anxious for me is like an 8, 9, 10 of intensity, and nerves are more in the up to maybe a 5,
Yes.
So where are you in 0 to 10? And they go, well, actually, I think you're right. I think I'm actually a 6. So maybe I'm not so anxious. Maybe I'm more nervous. And suddenly, even just having to put a number on it has objectified and created that little bit of space where you're going, oh, that's interesting. It's almost that mindful awareness.
Yes.
Seeing your own state, seeing your mental state, seeing your own emotional states, and sort of going, well, hold on, that's a good question, Al. Am I actually, you're right. I'm not really anxious. I'm actually more quite nervous. But even just that objectivity, they're feeling more control over already.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Mind your language, then starting putting numbers on it.
Very good. Very good.
And from there, as I said, you can move problem to challenge, which we talked about already.
Yes. Yeah.
And I always find that when people move to a challenge and they start getting comfortable, okay, so this is a challenge. I haven't chosen this, crappy situation, but I got to deal with it. I'm right here. I got to deal with it. And you're starting to see some of your options. You're starting to get back in your control, back in your power of what you can actually do. Sure. Then you can start saying, well, where's the opportunity here? Because when you go, for a lot of people, I find it's often a bigger leap to go from problem to opportunity, because they're like, oh no, man, this is terrible. They're still in that reactive mode, and it seems too much of a leap. But I tend to find when you introduce that middle step then suddenly allows them to get comfortable with the idea of the challenge. They start to grasp it back, and then suddenly the opportunity is enough. It's like, oh yeah, where is this opportunity?
Yeah.
And talking about opportunity, this is where I usually start to bring in values.
Okay, good.
So what do you actually stand for? So instead of something that's a calamity, that's some sort of crap that you have to get through and get things have to be got through or suffered through, just do, and that's fine, right? But when you start going, well, where's the opportunity here? Maybe it's an opportunity that, I don't know what sort of calamities we're talking about here, Anthony, but even horrible, horrible, horrible things like bereavement.
Yes.
What's the opportunity here? And people go, that's so cold, man. It's like, no. What values do you get to live? And it's like, okay.
Great question.
If I'm about love for family and friendship, well, then maybe that's the value you get to express. That's where you get to double down. Then instead of leaning away from friends and family at a horrible time, you lean in. Sure. That you're able to give that support to others. That's you living your value. That's you taking back control. That's you.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So it's
100%. Yes.
It's about living those values. So it's the same of, if you like, if maybe, I don't know, resilience is or some of perseverance, for example.
Yes.
Some people might use perseverance.
Yes.
So, okay, well, this maybe is an opportunity for you to discover new ways to persevere through this.
Yeah, excellent. Now, okay, continue.
No, tell me.
Yeah, so I was no, that's good. I love it. Yeah, I'm feeling your energy. That's amazing. So, okay, so if it's all about creating the space, asking yourself questions, having that awareness, what would you recommend in terms of helping someone develop that awareness, develop that strength ahead of time to prepare themselves for the event that a calamity will actually happen, because they inevitably happen. Problems, they will happen.
It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed.
Oh, guaranteed.
Life's going to throw some stuff at you, however well you don't think it will be. And as you say, it's great to prepare so that you can get out a reaction that bit faster.
Yes.
I'd say the first thing is to be really clear on what a lot of coaches and psychologists call the locus of control.
Yes.
And this idea of the locus of control is basically that overall, someone with an internal locus of control will say, hey, overall, I have more control over my destiny, my trajectory in life, due to my choices and behaviors.
Yes.
And someone with what's called an external locus of control, where they say, generally, other factors, whether it's fate and more in the 21st century nowadays, for most people, it's more so other people. Have more influence over my trajectory in life than I do. Now, this changes in different areas, of course, because, when you're in school, like, you have to go to school, you don't have a choice. So your locus of control, as goes where you go every day, is pretty low. You don't have that control, right? But it's being aware of where you do have the control, because one of the traps people fall in and get themselves really worked up and upset is because they're trying to control a whole lot of things they can't really control.
Amen. Yep.
So it's moving that focus to, okay, I can't really control this, I can't really control that. Where can I control? And as I said, it's asking, where do I have a choice? So maybe you have a choice of how you want to show up at your job or at your university course or whatever. How full all in you want to be. You get to decide what kind of a son or daughter or a parent or a friend or whatever, or boss that you want to turn up to be. So maybe there's loads of things, as I said, that you're channeled into from other people pushing you in that way, or, as I said, that you've actually chosen earlier and this is the path that you're walking. But even within that, it's asking, where can I control? So it's like people who get upset with the weather. It's like there's a Scottish comedian, Billy Connolly, used to say, there's no such thing as bad weather, just the wrong choice of clothes.
Very good.
He might think differently if he lived in Canada, right?
Definitely.
But you hear what I'm saying is that you where do you have choice, where do you have control? And it's like that Buddhist idea, I think it's called the vinegar eaters, where there's a little picture from like 1,000 years ago. There's 3 Buddhist monks, and 2 of them are wincing, drinking the vinegar, and one of them smiling. And why is he smiling? Because vinegar is meant to taste like that. This idea of acceptance, but it's also accepting of how things are, with the awareness of where you have control to change things and where you don't.
I love that. I love that.
But
that's
then
huge.
You can expand it out further. You can expand it out further by saying, hey, okay, so if I have control here, maybe you don't have control. Maybe in most of life, you just have influence. Is it high influence or is it low influence? And that's where you then get into, as I said, that's what I usually do with a lot of my negotiation clients, is realizing really clearly, okay, I have control over here, I have control over that, control over this.
Fantastic.
But I have influence here. High, medium, or low. And it's working out and not being frustrated. Because, as I said, people are trying to control or get frustrated with stuff that they don't have control of, like the weather or something. I'm not happy when it's raining into my face necessarily, but you kind of go, I'm in a rainstorm. You might.
This is awesome.
This is awesome, man.
That's exactly it.
Particularly, look, if you're going to a nice warm home, then it makes you grateful to be in a nice warm home. Right. So that's what we're talking about, locus of control.
I love that. And you know what? You make a tremendous point in terms of language patterns, because language patterns is a gateway to meaning. And oftentimes people use terrible language, and the worst language they use is metaphors. Like, I was coaching a client the other day, and they were talking about how their life is like a gerbil running on a hamster wheel. And to break her pattern, I basically said to her, so I want you to do this. Close your eyes for me. And I want you to imagine there's a gerbil running on a hamster wheel in a cage. I want you to take the gerbil out, put it in your hand, and start petting it.
And then smash the wheel.
And I said, just feel how cute, the softness, and all of a sudden her state changed. So just using people's metaphors. Oftentimes people use metaphors that either make their life either better or worse. So you could say, I'm so in love with you that the heavens are just percolating through my body. Like that could make feeling in love that much more intense. But I hate this person so much I could kill them. So that makes the hate even more intense, right? You get what I mean? So, but the language patterns play a huge role in that. And I even I do this with clients as well. Well, I often ask them when they tell me their language patterns are all, I'm depressed, I'm not feeling good, I'm sad all the time. And I often say to them, just to break it, just like you, I'll ask questions like, are you depressed or are you just bored with life? And they'll go,
that's a really good point. How often is depression actually just boredom?
Boredom. Yeah, exactly. And you see their head kind of go, the NLP eye technique, and their left eye will go, right. And they'll kind of look creative, and they'll go, actually, you know what? I go, are you being challenged right now? I'm talking about really challenged. Like I'm talking about physically, mentally, emotionally, where you're pushing yourself to be the best version. And they're like, no, I guess I'm not. And then all of a sudden it'll totally break their pattern. And all of a sudden they'll turn this calamity or this problem, depression, reframe it, and then bang, like it'll change everything.
That reframing is key. I mean, this is what we're talking about with the reframe. That when we're asking questions, we're moving the point of focus. Where I'm depressed, blah blah blah, and then suddenly, well, are you just bored? And suddenly, boredom. It's like, well, you can relieve boredom.
Yes.
It's like, where's the control there? It implies, you can do stuff that's not boring, which is there's so much at our fingertips that we can do now, right? So,
absolutely.
I mean, this makes a huge difference. But it is exactly this. This is the other problem that, as I said, with the emotional resonance, the problem with an awful lot of these things, particularly when people are angry, or even depressed, is that there's a drama, there's a significance there. It's a negative significance, but there's still a significance, What you get to feel strong and powerful when you're angry, and it's like as we used to talk about the crazy 8 patterns that people, and one of the common ones, of course, being an 8, they spend more time, maybe 2/3 time or 4/5 time down one end, and it's very regular to be down that depressed end or really down, and then you get bored literally of feeling depressed, so you get angry and I'm gonna do stuff. And then things don't work out quickly enough, so that then you fall back and this is pointless, and you fall back into the depression. But it is this, that at least you get a change of state, that's interesting, that it feels better than just being depressed. So this is one of the things we have to be aware of and be honest with ourselves. Are we actually enjoying the state that's not
how it's serving us, right?
And it's at a low level, and you go, I don't want to feel like this anymore. But it's meeting some of those needs, there's a bit of variety,
connection and love, right?
And don't forget, like, depression is horrible, of course it is, but as you said, gradient down. Like if you've met like a clinically depressed person, that is different from feeling blue. You know what I mean?
100%.
If you've met them, it's unnerving because
100%.
It's like the personality has been scooped out and there's just a shell looking at you.
Agreed.
And you put them under a scan, like a neurological scan, and literally their brain activity is down 40 to 60 or even 80%.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. So anyway, so it's just this measure, get a measure. It's not to lessen your own suffering. It's not to lessen the impact of whatever calamity it is you're dealing with. We're going back to calamity here, but it's not to lessen that, but it is to put it in context and put you in a context where you, as I said, going back to the start, have an element of control, have an element of choice. That's where you get to claw it back.
Yes. And what we're really talking about too, Al, I think at its base is shifting the meaning of that experience from something that's, as you said, shifting it from being a calamity to a problem to a challenge to an opportunity, and shifting your mindset focus from something that's bad, that could actually something that's a gift or something that can be brought value to life. A friend of mine who's a psychotherapist, she always talked about the gift of a crisis, and she always, and it kind of sounds paradoxical, but then you go, wait a second, you're right. If you look at all the crises that ever happened in my life, and I look back and go, the 3 biggest crises in my life became the best growth stages of my life ever. Absolutely. It's mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
They know of a term for it the last 10, 20 years, post-traumatic growth.
syndrome. Yeah. Yeah.
What's fascinating with that is that people go, oh, I haven't heard of that, because everyone's heard of post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
But people haven't heard of
glad you're bringing that up.
So few have post-traumatic growth,
Yes.
And even just hearing, that's possible. Of course it is. Yeah. And that just as you say, then you hear all that kind of Nietzsche and stuff, what doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. And again, some of that can sound a bit trite, can sound a bit glib. Yeah. But when you then go, hold on, let's take that as a rule of thumb.
Yes.
For a living.
Yes.
Maybe then
and live by it.
How can this make me stronger? It makes you create that default mindset so that you're able to get out of that reaction we talked about much faster.
Of course.
But the other element of that is self-blame. That an awful lot of people are practicing self-esteem and all this sort of stuff that we're meant to be teaching our kids, self-esteem and aren't you great and all this sort of stuff. Whereas in actual fact, that's terrible. Self-esteem is awful because self-esteem is usually extrinsic motivated or extrinsically focused. Oh, I feel good how I compare with others, how, that I'm earning as much as my peers, or that I've got this degree, or that all this sort of crap. That when it's fine when things are going great, but when things are going badly, suddenly self-esteem, I don't compare well to these people. I don't compare well to the version of me that I think I should be or have to be, and all this sort of stuff. And as you say, these calamities can then be overwhelming because it's, what does it mean? Oh, it means I'm not good at this. It means I'm not that sort of person I was. And it's harder to get out of it. Whereas practicing the idea of self-compassion is huge. And people are like, but I don't want to lose my edge. And it's like, it's not about being soft on yourself. It's about being that idea of what would a really good friend do. Just like you mentioned about, what was it you're saying about your wife was able to stroke the ego and poke the ego.
Well, the person, you're the best person that can actually stroke your ego is your wife or your significant other, but they can also poke your ego and say, let's bring you a few notches down.
Right back down to earth when you need it, right? But that's what I'm talking about with self-compassion. But hopefully your partner or your best friend or your sibling that you're most close to or whatever, think of that. That's the kind of person you need to be with yourself so that you can give yourself credit when credit is due and say the equivalent of putting an arm around yourself. You know what? You think you're being too hard on yourself here. You did that really well. These things happen. You're dealing with it quite well. Give yourself a break. That's what human compassion is. It's that idea of, but it can also go, but get your ass back up and get back in gear and stop feeling sorry for yourself. But you have to say that. You have to, play that role of your best. I used to, loosely say your best friend. You know what I'm talking about? Not about your best friend. My best friend kicked my ass.
Exactly. And the one thing,
would also give that credit. Would say, hold on, you've had a tough time. You're dealing with it really well. Give yourself a break. It's that balance.
Yes, and I think you may also too. I want to add to this an extra flavor to this recipe of turning calamities and opportunities is this idea that when you're actually talking to yourself, to not think it in your head, to speak it out loud. Because you actually you referenced that one thing that psychological teacher did with the bear. Why don't you tell us that story? Okay, something along the lines of how this famous teacher, psychological teacher, was getting a lot of students wanting to come to him for advice.
Oh yes, sorry, yes, of course.
Can you reference that? Can you reference that?
I just call it. I can't remember where I read it. I read it. When you're reading so many books, you hear all these stories and go, "I love the story," but you forget where you heard it. Anyway, if somebody spots the story, please do make a note and tell me where I read it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's popped up a few times. It was a professor, I think, in MIT or something like this. And he was tired of all of these student hours, all these queues of students asking him questions, and he's just like, oh, "Come on, like." Stop getting me to do a lot of the thinking for you. It's like, I don't mind helping people, but come on. So he said, okay, his daughter had given him this little teddy bear, like with the professor, with the mortarboard or whatever the thing, when you graduate. And so he said, okay, I know what he's going to do. So he went to his secretary outside his office and he said, okay, any student comes to me, they can see me, but first they have to explain their problem to Professor Ted here on your desk. And the lady and the secretary says, "What? You want them to explain to the teddy bear?" It's like, "Yeah." It's like, okay, fine, whatever. Let's try it. So students come in, cut his hours by like 60% of student contact time. Why? Because they would, of course, say, so the secretary says, you got to explain it to Ted. You got to explain it to the teddy bear.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'm not explaining. Explain to the teddy bear, otherwise you don't get to talk to the professors. Okay, fine. So they go, okay, there's only 2 ways to do this, and I've tried this, and I've said, oh, hold on, maybe there's another one. Okay. And then suddenly, oh, thanks, Ted, and then, off they go. And so Ted is getting a huge amount of credit for all this. Yes. And the reason being for that, and it's interesting you mentioned about enunciating it out loud, because this is why, an awful lot of, the most traditional or the first forms of therapy, psychoanalysis and whatnot, the animals hardly say anything at all. They say virtually nothing. And the whole point is that the person just has to sit and talk, stream of conscious-wise. But it means that when it's out, they hear it. And it's processed through their brain in a totally different way than if you just think it.
Yes.
So it's as if somebody else has said it.
Yes.
It's as if you're hearing somebody else's voice, right?
Yes.
So that externalization and then re-internalization can often give you a whole new perspectives on what you're hearing, because it's as if you're hearing it from someone else. It's as if you're hearing a third party. Yeah. And it can save you a fortune in therapy as well.
Oh, and here's the other thing too. What it does is too, it's a good gateway to open up to preparing you to condition your body and mind that when calamities do show up, you are at a stronger conditioned state. And this is what I learned from obviously Tony Robbins, is conditioning yourself to be in more powerful states so that when the problems come, you're at the top of Mount Everest rather than at the bottom of Mount Everest. So you're looking down at your calamity going, oh yeah, I'm feeling strong. I can handle that in tall order because I'm in a peak state, as opposed to waking up going, oh, I'm tired. And then the very first calamity or very first problem shows up and you're at the bottom of Mount Everest looking up at this problem that looks like the size of Mount Everest. So you're viewing it from a low state. So that is a very, very important strategy too, that I find for me personally and in with my clients. What about yourself? Do you find yourself preparing yourself, having morning rituals to handle those stresses on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, the morning ritual thing is something that's become quite popular in the last 5 or 10 years. Particularly, then one of Tim Ferriss's favorite questions is a morning routine. Yeah, but I think it makes a huge difference. I mean, I notice days where I'm more reactive to things popping up and irritating me. Yeah. When I haven't even done the 10 minutes of the headspace meditation, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Or when I haven't done some of that consciously setting who it is that I want, which Al I want to turn up today. And when you set that sort of stuff, it means you have something to compare it to. It means that there's something that there's like a driving force there, rather than just floating. Yeah. Because when you're just floating, then by definition, stuff comes up and you're reacting to it. Yeah. So one of the things, for example, and this is a parallel of the morning routine. I mean, I normally, just to answer your question, when I wake up before I get out of bed, I'm trying to think, okay, which Al is turning up today? Okay, good. And you're constantly choosing, okay, I'm going to try and be helpful. I'm going to try and be focused. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Not try. I don't like the word try. I'm just going to be this, going to be that. Then usually I usually start the day with just, again, setting out your stall for the day. So you start with, some people, again, hear the cliche of being grateful and gratitude. Yes. Sort of stuff. I like to think about it being aware of your assets. Think of it that way. Yeah. So if you start the day where you're looking at lack, you're looking at where things are missing. You're literally starting in a negative, unhelpful, unconstructive frame. Whereas when you start and go, oh, I'm grateful for, it's not an intellectual exercise; it's an emotional exercise. So tap into the actual thing
the emotion. Yeah.
Oh my God, isn't it so great that I have my partner? Oh my God, isn't it so great that this work has arrived and I really enjoy working with this client or that company or whatever. And one of the ways you can tap into that emotional resonance is inversion. So you actually flip it. What would it be like if this person wasn't here? Boom. And you kind of go, oh, a bit of a gut punch, oh, holy crap. Right. So it's an emotional thing. And then suddenly you feel actually like, this is wealth.
Yes.
It's not, maybe it's not financial wealth, but it's wealth of relationships, it's wealth of opportunity, it's wealth of whatever.
Yes.
And this then sets you up on that trajectory. So instead of, as you say, starting from the bottom of the mountain at the start of the day, you're starting halfway up the mountain.
Yes, that's
right?
exactly
Again,
it.
it's like all of the good stuff you have going on, no matter how bad things are. People can usually name a few good things, or I'm glad it's not worse.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
And don't fall into the trap of thinking that things can never get worse, no matter how bad they are. People
Oh yeah.
fate can find.
Well, that's the mind. That's the mind of the addict too. Who says they never really have a rock bottom. There's always a worse bottom, right? So, but I think yeah, and I think what we're really zeroing in on this particular podcast of turning calamities into opportunities is this idea that there's an opportunity in every calamity. The question is, are you using your particular skills that you have access to, choices, to start seeing these things? And one of the ways to do that is change your language patterns, change your focus patterns, change your body, whatever it might be. And the whole game changes. And for the people out there, I can tell you right now, out of all the types of cognitive quotient, emotional quotient, there is something called the AQ, the adversity quotient. People that are able to look at adversity and go, where's the opportunity here? How can I learn from this particular experience? Those are the people that are the most successful, fulfilled, because they're able to step into their adversity and see and pull diamonds or a gold mine from it.
And as you said, with that training, it's also more and more automated. It's less and less of a struggle. Yes. And this is the key thing that an awful lot of people get themselves, as you were talking about fight and flight earlier,
Yes.
Fight, flight, feign, freeze, whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
but again, that's in, as I said, the fight or flight stress response.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in the other side, you're in the challenge response.
Yes.
And it's evolutionarily, it's the difference between something hunting you and you're literally fighting or running for your life.
Yes.
But again, the stress response is at a low level of that, but it's the same stuff that's happening. It's the same, basically, it's what we're talking about, this locus of control idea, that people are basically saying, oh, overall, I don't think I can control this. Overall, I'm out of control. I don't have, this will not end well for me, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in the challenge response, you're saying, this isn't easy. There's loads of balls in the air here. There's loads of uncertainty. But you know what? I think I can handle it. Yes. And that's the difference. I think I can handle it versus I don't think I can handle it.
Yeah.
And it changes the entire stress response because, as they're saying, when you have the fight or flight, the blood drains away from your prefrontal cortex, where actually your human brain, where you're able to plan and you're able to have insight and you're able to also future project and look and reflect back on past experiences, right? So that's huge. Think about that. The blood drains away. It's like when you meet someone and you're really nervous, that's where you think, actually, I'm a bit out of control. Your blood drains away. You know, the classic teenage idea of asking someone out on a date or something. Yes. That's exactly the thing where you're so vulnerable, you're nervous, right?
Yes.
Blood drains away from the brain and you're like, oh, you can't even use language, right?
Yes.
Okay? It's that sort of example. Whereas when you're in the challenge response, the blood, this is the difference. The blood, your veins, your arteries stay supple. Whereas in fight or flight, they tighten in case you get cut, that you're less likely to bleed out. Amazing stuff, right?
Yes.
But fight or flight, think about running for your life versus running for your dinner. Challenge responses when you're the hunter. You're the effectively you're able to run and you're able to plan and be strategic. Usually, if you think in evolutionary terms, humans weren't the strongest.
Yes.
But we were able to manage tools and we were able to use teamwork and strategy. And this is how we've been able to come to where we are today. But all of it's from the challenge response. That idea that the blood stays in the prefrontal cortex. Like, think about exercising. You running on a treadmill or you're sprinting down the street.
Yeah.
You're not in a relaxed state.
No.
But you are in control. And that's the difference.
Yes. And that's huge what you say about their neurological patterns that happen when our prefrontal cortex is turned off and the wise mind is turned off. The conscious mind, which is basically not time bound, our amygdala is firing.
Exactly.
You're in fear, or like red lights everywhere, red light, and you cannot think, you cannot navigate through that. You're making bad decisions from that place, right? Which makes it even more important to actually condition yourself to be in that challenging state, right?
I mean, for those just who aren't sure about, the amygdala is essentially like an amplifier. It's what a lot of people think of it as, and we have one in each hemisphere, and one is just for threat. And it just amplifies the emotional reaction to threat. The other is half threat, half potential reward.
Yes.
So you have 3/4 that are just this little
firing like crazy.
Now this is again how we survive. So we're not just casual about a proper danger about a tiger chasing us or whatever. Back in the day, right? But the problem is, I have to give a talk.
Yes.
It fires at maybe a 4 out of 10, 3 out of 10. It's like, crap. You know, somebody asked you a question in a meeting, who's, super high powered, and you're like, whoa, crap.
Yes.
And the blood drains, right? Just when you don't need it. You don't need it to happen, right?
Exactly.
So talking about calamity, we were talking about, changing our focus by asking questions. Have I done this before? Will this matter in a year's time? How fast do we think this would most likely be resolved? All of these sort of questions. So we're starting to get that human brain, that human cognitive, most planning, strategic, and objective brain going. Like objectively, how bad is this on a scale of 1 to 10? All of this sort of stuff. But and you alluded to this earlier, the next one, particularly when the prefrontal cortex is going, you're getting nervous and the blood is draining out of there. Breathe. Just breathe, damn it. You're literally breathing that oxygen-rich blood back in to your most human thinking brain. That's
wise mind,
starting to get back in control.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? It's funny, which begs the question. I'm going off on a tangent here, and we got a few minutes left. But it begs the question of highly advanced meditators who probably have trained their brain from a physical point of view, where the amygdala, they basically trained their amygdala not to fire anymore, and their prefrontal cortex is basically running all the time. It's that story of St. Francis walking through, and there's a bunch of rabid wolves, and then everyone's scared, and he just goes up to the wolf, touches the wolves on the head, and then they're calm. Or Mother Teresa walking through Calcutta, these rabid dogs, and no one wants to walk down that arena, and she brings up a level of peace and calmness and compassion and love, and she puts the hands on the dogs and they calm down. Or even Buddha, another story where this crazy elephant was running through the village, and he was just sitting in this lotus position, and it was about to trample the Buddha, and the Buddha just put his hand on his trunk, and it calmed down. So there's something to be said about meditation, and as you said, breathing, being mindful of breathing. And so those are other things like preparing, breathing, meditation, mindfulness, yoga, tai chi. All these things can actually train your brain and your body to respond rather than react to calamities, and tap into the wise mind, as opposed to the amygdala firing off, and that being your center of focus. So it's huge.
Funnily enough, just to add to that, and to do the earlier thing about morning routines, about 2 years ago or so, I started doing. A lot of people now are aware Wim Hof.
Yes.
The Wim Hof method with the breathing and the cold showers and all this. So I have cold showers every day, and I find it exactly that your body's going, what the hell are you doing? That water's cold. This will be highly unpleasant. Are you crazy? And then you're going, no, we're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So you're overriding that reactive. I want comfort and warmth. That desire that's right there. You're overriding, going, we're going to be fine. It's going to feel amazing when we're in there. Never mind afterwards.
Exactly.
Your ass in there. And it's that idea of that your human brain and your body and physiological senses are going, are you crazy? And it's like one is going, no, we're in charge. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be great. In you go. And it's that practice that lowers that ability to go, you know what? If I've done nothing else, I've done that one thing right today.
Amen.
And it's that, as you say, it's the conditioning that you can take that with you, that, I can do that. Maybe there's other difficult things I can do.
Yes.
And it's taking that perspective.
Yes. Man, amazing, dude. Amazing. Which is why at the end of the day, you look at Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within, he gets people to walk across the fire to train their brain. If I can walk across fire, and I believed I could, now I did, what else can I do beyond that? So it's stepping into challenge.
And it's evidence.
It's evidence. Yep.
It's reference. Like, so even if you get down, I'm such a loser, and I'm such all negative self-talk and all the rest later on, there's something in the back going, hold on. It's about, there's a belief change there. Yeah. That's why, for example, CBT sort of stuff, there's a lot of exposure therapy. So one of the reasons exposure therapy, gradual exposure therapy works is because people go, I stood in this really busy place and I didn't explode, or I didn't have a total meltdown.
Yeah.
Reality, belief has to shift slightly.
Yes.
And that's the same, we're talking about that when people do the fire walk, that's the purpose of it. So that people go, you know what? I did that.
Yeah.
That was real. That happened. I managed to get through that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's something to build on, you know?
Amen, man. Wow. There was a lot to this episode, you guys. I am stoked. Seriously, I feel like I'm amplified and magnified myself. And I'm sure Cam on the other end too, has received a lot of value, and the people listening to the show. This is definitely a show you probably want to listen to over and over again, because we've been talking about this for about 40, 45 minutes. And there's been a lot said about how to prepare yourself for calamity, how to raise the bar, raise your standard, condition yourself through various exercise modalities, strategies, so you can then turn your life from a calamity to opportunity. And ultimately, if you're able to do that, think about it. If you're able to turn every calamity into an opportunity in your life and take the stages, as Al said, take it step by step, what is possible for your life? Virtually every calamity for everyone. I mean, there's no exception. And what could happen, right? Absolutely everything. So hopefully you guys got a lot from the show. Al, thank you for joining us on the show.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Is there a place that the people listening to the show can get a hold of you or look up your stuff?
Yeah, just look me up at almcbride.com. That's probably the best. As I said, you mentioned the Goliath negotiation there earlier.
Yeah.
And it's funny, one of the things that I brought to the negotiation training, I mean, it's the psychological edge of negotiation, is about exactly what we're talking about today, is that and even really good programs on negotiation often leave out that how to deal with stress when you're sitting at that table, how to prepare for it, and then how to deal with, you know, curveballs that the counterpart, the other people throw at you. And that's where I bring all of this stuff that we're talking about to that situation. Yeah. And it just changes people. Again, gets them out of the fight or flight and much more into their power, into the challenge stress response. So they're actually loving it, you know?
Amazing, man. Amazing. Wow. So good. So look them up online, look them up, almcbride.com, giving you the psychological edge. Hopefully, you know what, Al, I'm sure the people listening to this show are listening to you going, wow, different perspective, different angles. They're going to leave this tomorrow. They're going to go, wow, I got this. I'm going to look at every calamity in my life as an opportunity and how to do it. You've just basically armed everyone listening to the show, including myself, and I'm sure Cam too as well, with a plethora of ideas to think about and to apply to our life and to make that extraordinary upgrade. So thank you guys for listening to the show. We'll see you again the next time to your continued upgrade and evolution. Live it up with power, purpose, and passion. We'll see you next time. God bless. Have an amazing day. Take care, guys.